Welcome to another stepping stone to AAC, Getting Buggy. I'm Heather Prenovo, a training and implementation specialist with PRC-Saltillo, and I'm joined by...
I'm Cherie Cyan, and I'm a speech language pathologist and special educator, and then parent of a child who uses a communication device. And I'm a consultant for Washington State.
I was going to say, don't forget.
Yeah, I'm Washington and a very small portion of Idaho.
That's right. And Cherie and I both would like to just welcome you and remind everyone that we know AAC is not an overnight, snap of your fingers. It is a journey. It's a process. And part of that is taking those first few steps. And that's why PRC-Saltillo, we decided to work on some of these kind of skills and share them with you so that you can take those first steps. Another stepping stone, we're trying to build on those steps. And I'm super excited for the examples that Cherie has for us tonight. So let's dive in.
So what are we going to do today? We're going to be starting off by identifying some core words and some strategies to be modeling. And so we use this organizational tool, and you can use this for organizing some of your sessions for therapy. One of the things that I like to highlight on this particular form is that it also has you choose a communication function to target. And I think that this is one of the things that people forget about. I love that on here there's negotiations, because I think it's something that a lot of people forget about that. And then teasing and gossiping. Those are others that I think are really important for functions of communication. And sometimes that can be enough motivation to get somebody to start communicating.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's part of the handouts that are on the AAC learning journey when you logged in. There's a blank one if you want to follow along tonight. We're going to fill one in together. But then go ahead, make copies if you find it helpful. We've had some SLPs who will then share this with families or family members who've taken the course too. So use it as you see fit.
So this is another one of the handouts that's available when you log in. And I like how this one talks about the different things that you can do. We want to start off with choosing a routine or a motivating activity, choose a communication function to target, choose the core word. So it gives a little bit of description, write out that script for aided language input, and then try it out.
Exactly. If you're like me and you leave a class you took and you're like, oh yeah, what did we do here?
So we're going to start off with talking about the activity. So our activities with bugs and how we can elicit a variety of vocabulary. We can talk about bugs with toys, pictures, real life, outdoors, books, bug catcher, little house. There's lots of things that you can do with it. And it's something that kids are naturally gravitating towards. We might as adults be more creeped out by them, but we don't have to use real bugs when we're doing this. And yet it can still be very engaging.
Totally. And even if they are freaked out, I mean, that elicits another form of communication, right?
You can talk about the feelings too. Yeah, you can.
It's gross.
There's so much. Yeah, ew, gross.
That would be fine.
One of my favorite memories from preschool is actually snail races, where you put a snail, each kid gets to pick out a snail, and you put them all in a string, and all the strings are running alongside of each other. And you have to, the snail, you're waiting to see who gets to the top.
So fun.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite memories as a child. Snail races in preschool. So these are our core boards. So this is Unity, and and then this is the based off of the Word Power 60 Basic. This is Untitled Chat, and the Nova chat software. So this is a 96. Sorry, it's a 96 location. Yeah, this one going back was the 84 Unity. And then,
And I don't have a picture of the lamp words for life. Sorry.
oh, it's
not
okay.
copied
Lamp
in.
Words for Life is based off of Unity. So there's a lot of crossover.
And all three of the boards are in the handouts. So my apologies that the image did not get in here. And one thing we like to point out with these for this evening and in the future is sometimes looking at that homepage or this core board and thinking about what words, if you're not certain what words you want to target or model during the activity, since they're right there in your face, it's nice to just start from that screen, or using this to model if you can't model on their device. Or I know Cherie always likes to share when there's messy activities.
Yes.
I want the device out.
Messy activities. Oh, I have a new place that I take a laminated core board, get it wet, and then slap it on the side of the bathtub.
There you go.
We've also done it swimming, taking a laminated board in the swimming pool.
Love it. Love it. See? Great tips. Yes, so far you were the only one logged in. We've had other nights where some log in a little late, Kristen. So
Okay,
you get our undivided attention.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'll tell you guys a little bit where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I work with a few preschoolers in a school setting, and I've been using LAMP with them.
Oh, cool.
I think it's going really well. And I'm using these things that you're saying, and I'm targeting the different communication functions. My issue is more getting the team on board. So I don't know if you guys have any suggestions, like just getting them to buy in. They really are all like, everybody, all the teachers are kind of just saying like, yeah, we just really want verbal. And oh yeah, they can talk if they really want to, things like that. So I'm working with young children with ASD.
Yep. Perfect.
I think one of the things that I usually try to talk about too is that this is something that even when we have some of our children that are verbal, maybe they have a lot of echolalia, that you can have children that have more complex language when they have a visual and that auditory model than they can produce on their own. So like I have two sons. One of my sons is on the autism spectrum, and he started stealing his brother's communication device, and he can say things to us, especially when he's in a meltdown. He can say things to us using the device or the core board that he can't say otherwise. And so I think pointing that out to teams often can be helpful. And then I also think that there's a couple videos that I can put in the chat that I love sharing with teams when they're really resistant to it, of like, hey, these are some of the things that if we start children younger with AAC, we can see that they are gaining that language faster and more efficient. So I'll write down your name, and maybe I'll actually send you an email if you want to give me your email at some point.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. And I was going to say too, one of the things as we go into the strategies tonight is that with some teams too, reminding them that we can accept the verbal and use the AAC at the same time, and we don't have to force them to use that. We can accept all of it. But as Cherie said, we can expand a little bit more with them using the core board or their device and slowly bridge into more verbal, and that it's okay to have that combination. But I think, as Cherie said, when they really, in those intense moments, often language is the first thing to get stuck. And so having that as an alternative, but also with the strategies that we're going to share tonight is talking about, picking one thing to start, and some of those that are resistant to buy in, especially because they're like, oh, but they can verbalize, taking an opportunity of when they haven't been verbalizing and take that activity. What are some words that we can show them? Or they maybe only verbalize one word during the activity. So can we take that activity and like what we're going to do tonight is expand on it and maybe add a detail or add in the pronoun and expand for them that way.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to show a video, and I'll let Cherie introduce it, and thinking about your core board or your students' boards that you're using and what are some of those core words. But I'll let Cherie talk about the video and give it a.
So this is an activity where we were using wall crawlers, and we made just a circle on the window so that we could use it as a target. And I have it in a whole bunch of different colors just to try to make it easier to see since it's on glass. But yeah, it's a fun activity, and you'll see that that's pretty engaging.
And yeah, pay attention or listen for some of the words that Cherie is using.
Okay, we're gonna make the bug. He's gonna go either inside or outside, or we can go on or off. Right there. Let's see. You wanna help me? Oh, I got him. He's going down. Down. Should we do it again? Yeah. Okay, ready, set, go. He went down.
Giggles in that video just make me smile.
So when I was recording it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best giggles.
Right? Love it.
And it's just something silly. I mean, it's just a little bug that crawls down the window. It's from the dollar store. It's wonderful when you can find something simple and make it into an activity that's that exciting.
Right, exactly. Another handout that you guys have access to is this Pragmatic Language language stages chart. It's from the AAC Language Lab, and it breaks down different functions that typically, as we're developing language, where we start with naming and commenting and we progress. So it's something to just refer back to as you're trying to think of, is this, age appropriate? Am I working on something that maybe is a little harder? But giving you an idea of maybe we are doing this, what's next? What could I be targeting? Is how I look at it.
I like it also that it breaks it down and makes it a little bit easier to see, okay, I'm working with somebody who's a stage 1, or no, I think that this is a stage 2. It gives you some concrete examples of what each stage is.
Totally. All right, I'm going to switch screens. Cherie, here we go. So we are using the wall crawler as our activity.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to chat out or shout out, what do you think communication function wise that Cherie is using? I would say definitely commenting, right?
Directing action.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Commenting, directing actions. Perfect. I always kind of go back and forth, like you could get attention, request attention towards something. And you don't have to highlight all of them. Just getting an idea of what are we trying to target on here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Next up, let me get back to the right screen. Here we go.
So when we're working with aided language input, we want to use open-ended questions and encourage communication. As closed-ended questions, they limit how many answers the student can have. If your AAC learner only responds with 1 or 2 word phrases, we want to expand on their utterances.
Definitely. And one way to think of that, and one of the notes we have is, sometimes just going 1 or 2 words above their level, and then expanding on it. All right, switching screens. Here we go.
Could I ask you guys also,
Yeah.
most of the kids that I'm working with are pretty much 1-word users.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a little bit of like wear it, or it'll be like maybe 2 words, like something, a verb, and then it, like eat it, a little bit like expanding like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was wondering about is for children who are on the spectrum and they're not looking at the device, but we're like supposed to talk about it and have a fun time. I noticed that a lot of people are like, look at the device, or like, because when they're requesting, they really want something, you do have their attention. So at that point, you can kind of show it. But what is your feeling about having someone look at, or prompting them to look at the device? Or are you guys just like talking on it with your finger and your words, and you're not really hearing if they're looking or not?
I think one of the things that we often forget is that especially when kids are given a device, we often immediately expect them to respond back. But when we have typically developing children who are learning language and speaking verbally, they generally go for at least a year before they ever have their first output of speech. And so we have to think about that also for our kids that we're introducing AAC, that we need to give them some time of having a lot of modeling before we ever expect them to start speaking. And one of the things is, like, ultimately we're teaching them another language, and most of their day they're still hearing verbal speech and they're not getting that picture support. But what we do know about learning second languages is that before somebody is actually going to start learning that language, they need to have at least 30% of their day spent in that language. And so I think when we have teachers, or if it's only left up to the speech therapist and they're only doing it, that 1 hour that they're getting to see that student a week, or in the schools, it's way less than that, they're not going to make up that 30%.
And there's a lot of incidental learning too. The other thing I like to piggyback off of what you said, Cherie, is I've seen those well-intentioned, like trying to get their attention to the screen. And then I had students where then it became work, and it wasn't
want to.
Then you're forcing me to do this. I don't want to. I don't get it. I don't want to. And whereas what you'll see how Cherie models in the next video of, pausing, and we say, give them that wait time. And at some point they do start to want to engage with it. But using the times when you notice they are focused on it, yay.
But you're not too concerned if they're not looking.
No,
you're not concerned at all.
I honestly, like, if we think about how often kids on the spectrum also use their peripheral vision, I feel like even if they are not directly looking, often they are paying attention and people won't realize that they are. So I think that people just have to keep modeling it, and don't necessarily say, oh, look what I'm doing, but just, I also talk through it a lot too. Oh, like with Lamp Words for Life. Oh, I'm going to go find banana. Oh, I need to go to the apple first. And now I need to go to fruits and vegetables. And if I'm verbalizing all of that, then they're still going to get it in one way or another, even if they're not looking.
Good point.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So the next step on that organizational tool to help us with the script that Cherie was mentioning for our aided language is picking core words that we could target. And so first one I thought of that you were modeling was go. What other words could we model for this? Down, yeah.
In and out.
Yep. In, out, down, up. Those are always good ones. And then, as you mentioned, Kristen, we could do it, or I do it. Those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. Was the child throwing the spider, or were you?
We were doing it together.
Okay.
He has cerebral palsy, so he needs help to be able to hold it. But he was basically pulling it back to fling it. We have this little leaf that flings it on there.
Cool. I'm definitely going to do that. I think that's a really fun activity.
Yeah.
I was excited. I'm jealous. I'm like, I want to go do that. All right. So then the last section is coming up with those open-ended questions that we can use. One tip I like to give, Cherie, and I don't know if you've got other ones, is it can be a question that has the word in it that we're targeting, or the response we're hoping they give has the word in it. So could be where, go.
Yeah.
What other questions? Open-ended questions. If we're going to model, I suppose, longer utterances too, where should
it go?
What happened?
Yeah. That's a great one.
My favorite is what now? What now?
That's a good one. That's always anything open-ended with that. What's next? And we can use the same, oops, my cursor didn't move. We could use the same questions down here, right? Or where did it go?
Yeah.
It went up, or I think you asked him where do you want it to go? Right? Where do we want to aim it for? And I love anytime we can be repetitive and use the same questions.
Yeah.
And
Where did
target
it go?
words. We can do where did it go again? Who
you want to do it?
Yep. Who should throw
that
it?
one, sorry, that's close-ended question though. Who should throw it? There we go.
Who should throw it? Or whose turn? Totally get it, right? And then the last one is also coming up with possible responses or comments that we want them to get and or use, or if they're not answering questions yet, because let's be honest, that a lot of our kiddos are not yet answering those questions. So we can model the expected response after we've given them their wait time. So, it go down.
Mm-hmm.
I think you even say, just go out. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We can use the same phrase down here. So you get the idea of having these ready. I will say, even personally, I've been doing this. I've counted, working with AAC for 20 years. I still have times where I'm like, I'm going to write the script for myself, just because in the moment it helps with that, finding the words and not stressing.
Well, I feel like since we're also often switching between systems, we really do want to kind of think about, well, what words do we have and where are those words? Going back and forth. I mean, if you ever have one kid on touch chat and another kid on lamp, and
the brain has to shift gears.
Yeah. Have to think about, where are those words?
Which is why we recommend that you take the next take the next step of finding the words on the system, on the board. Highlight the buttons, give them a border on the system or on the board to draw your attention, and find them ahead of time so that you're not panicked and stressed trying to find those. The other thing to your question earlier, Kristen, is reminding them it's okay to be modeling one or two words on the device, but talking normal, that they don't have to be modeling the whole sentence or the whole phrase on the system. Can sometimes ease some of their anxiety around using the system.
Okay.
So if you want to follow along on a board or on your device, I'm going to let you talk about this next video, Cherie.
Yeah, so then here's where we've added the communication device, and we're using that aided language input and doing the same activity.
And there's a fun surprise in this video that made me smile, Cherie. All right, here we go.
Okay, we're gonna make our bug go. We're gonna make him go. Look, we're gonna make him go. He's gonna go. Is he gonna go in? He's gonna go in, or he can go out, or he can go on, or he can go, oh, we can also make him go off. He can go off. Let's make him go.
Go.
Which one should we make him go? Which one?
Inside.
Oh, inside! Will you help me? Let's help. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow! Oh no! He fell down. Oh, he went down. Go.
Go.
Down.
Down.
Let's see. Should we try again? Let's do it again.
Again.
Should he go?
Go.
Oh, you're gonna pick for me? Which one?
In.
He's gonna go in! Oh, let's see! Right? Uh-oh, he fell. Ready, set, go! Oh!
Oh, that is the best.
Could I ask you guys about so I've been using vocabulary builder mode, but how did you set up a different vocabulary for each activity and then add those words to their overall vocabulary? Or how are you guys doing it?
It depends on the student. Like for my son, he has visual impairment, so he actually stays in a vocabulary builder of kind of like a transition level. And we add as he learns new words so that it doesn't overwhelm him visually. And we were doing it where we would turn it into vocab builder for the times that we were teaching him new vocabulary and then open it back up to his full vocabulary. But he was having a really hard time ever just gaining more vocabulary while we were doing it that way. And that really it had to do with his vision. For most kids, I would say that we do put it in vocab builder when we're showing new vocabulary, and then we'll open it back up. But I would say, it really depends on the system too, because I might be more likely to do that in Lamp Words for Life than I would in Touch Chat, which we were talking about this beforehand of like Touch Chat. Heather, maybe you can expand on how you've created some other levels that are kind of more like the transition level.
I've gone and worked with teams where we did go and hide a bunch on, say, Word Power 60 Basic for that same reason, like visually or tracking wise, for them to select and really hone in on some of that early vocabulary. And then you could open it right back up by going in and hitting the, show all hidden buttons. Like Cherie was saying, I also had teams who were not comfortable with that, or the student wasn't doing well with that. And so then it was slowly unhiding, or getting teams who were like, oh, we need to add a page. Oh, we need to add a page. And we're like, but it's a hit that's already programmed. It's in there. I personally, with teams that I've worked with, we were not going activity specific, trying to work on words that could be used in any activity. Which is kind of the concept with this planning tool, is to find those words that, okay, we could do with this wall crawler, but now you can take those same words. We were using plastic bugs, and the recording's up on the YouTube channel, and putting them in the jar or taking them out, and putting it on the lid, or trying to remember, we did a food activity, Cherie and I, in the fall, and putting the ingredients in. So trying to go in that route versus having so many different options of what's available. Because as you saw, he picked a word that Cherie hadn't modeled for him, and that was okay. It made sense, and we went with it.
Yeah, I loved that he actually picked a word that I didn't model, and yet it worked. And it was just so perfect. And in the first video, I noticed I actually said the word inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny that, my verbal model was inside, and he then found that vocabulary, which I think is really good.
Yep.
to
And
see
even if
all-
it's happenstance, because I get a lot of teams who are
Uh-huh.
like, they didn't really mean to press that. It doesn't matter. And even if he had said, put it, next to, well, next to what? Should we put it next to the circle, next to the window? We can go with it.
Yeah, I mean, and those are more opportunities that they then can learn from that experience. And that play is what's going to then help them reinforce that vocabulary and learning it. He does know all of his words that are on there because we are slowly adding them as he learns them. But yeah, it was really cool to see how that grows in our students and in their vocabularies. I think if you are going to go hiding vocabulary, it really does kind of need to be specifically thought about each student and what their needs are.
Well, thank
All
you
right.
for joining us.